Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? Um, Let me just fix my camera here real quick. Okay. Um, Coffee. Lots of it. Okay. I have been mixing my coffee with hot chocolate and been making the most amazing drinks ever. Yes, it has become my new addiction. So, what we're going to be talking about right now is something that was brought to my attention. And this is a rabbit hole that, my God, I wish I never went down, but I went down it and I had to take a shower to get all the dirt off of me. So, it's called the Voice of God weapon. And when I first heard about this, I'm like, oh, come off it. It was one of those. But when I started looking everything up and researching everything, I actually got disturbed by this. So we're going to discuss this, okay? And I want to know if you guys have ever heard about anything like this, because just when you think you've heard it all, oh nay nay, that's when you can come to me and I'm going to find something else. So the Voice of God weapon, okay, because that's exactly what this thing is. It's a weapon. It's a device that projects voices into your head and makes you think that God is speaking to you. This is not a joke, okay? And I'm Catholic. I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic school, the whole nines. So when I started researching this, I started praying, because I said, "Dear God, why? Why would anyone want to screw around with something like this?" So there's a man by the name of Dr. Robert Duncan, and he is the architect, the maker, the doer, the mastermind, whatever, behind the technology that is used for the Voices of God weapon. And he was a brilliant mind who went to Harvard, MIT, and then straight to the CIA. And he admits that he helped put together the technology that makes it possible for the government to put voices inside people's heads. So just when you think that someone's nuts and they're talking to themselves and they need something, you know, they're not the ones that are crazy. They're oh, just listen. So when Duncan was asked, "What's something negative about what you have done?" And he responded, "I have empowered the dark side by some of my work." He said, "You see, technology is neutral, and it can be used for good or for evil." He said, "I have worked on projects for the CIA, the Justice Department, and the Department of Defense. And when asked if this is the technology used to put voices in people's heads, he said yes." So when Dr. Robert Duncan was asked who would want to put voices in their head, he responded, "The government is doing this to them." So when people are diagnosed as having DID, okay, or multiple personalities or whatever the case may be, this might just be this weapon, this Voices of God weapon. Now, Duncan did not even bother to hide who's doing it. They are called the Voices of God weapon. And Duncan then went on to say that the CIA has a long history of experimenting on citizens For example, like the MK Ultra, okay? So now here's a video of Dr. Robert Duncan explaining in short everything. Long story short type thing.
I was talking a little bit about, well, mind control in particular, and something that I worked on that I'm not proud of, but it's called the voice of God weapon. So there are 4 different techniques and technologies that can pipe voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War to tell the enemy at that time, lay down your guns, this is Allah. And it worked pretty well, because hearing voices which have no direction or sound, you have to assume that it's some spiritual entity. So it works pretty well. And then, I don't know if I'm going to get into this, but there's something called hyper game theory. How do you, they want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. That's just what's happening. Now we have, which are magnetically activated nanoparticles and sensors. So how do you control a brain? Most people don't believe that. Oh, you can't control me. I have my own free will. There's no way you can get to my soul. Well, sorry, that's not true. So these nanoparticles are activated under certain magnetic frequency and will alter the brain patterns and pathways. Recently, my school came out, Harvard came out with what you see here on the right slide is the magnified view of a needle that's injected into the brain and puts the scaffolding over the brain, and then it's read that way at a much finer resolution. So let's talk about a little bit about deciphering the audio and visual cortex. So researchers at the university.
So what people hear when they hear this voice of God is an auditory effect, okay, that's created by scientists who manipulate the air with lasers. It's crazy, I know, but it's the truth. And it's the Pentagon's idea for stopping people, like charging checkpoints or scaring the crap out of them, okay? Now, this voice of God technology, often referred to as sound-based weapons or directed audio technologies, is purported to project sound directly into the brain of a target, making it appear as if the voice is coming from within their own mind. And this technology has sparked intrigue and controversy due to its potential applications and ethical implications. So, how does this work? Well, the technology relies on several specific scientific principles. Okay, this is all science. It has nothing to do with anything medical at all. It's all scientific. So, one way is microwave, okay, and yes and no. Does it have to do with the microwave that you heat your food up with, okay? Microwave auditory effect. This phenomenon, where pulsed microwave frequencies cause auditory sensations that are perceived as sounds without an actual ambient noise. Okay. The next is ultrasound and infrasound frequencies. Low and high frequency sound waves that can bypass the outer ear and stimulate the inner ear directly. Bone conduction, the transmission of sound vibration through bones in the skull, allowing sound to be heard without using the eardrum. It gets even weirder, so just hang on. Focused ultrasound is technology that concentrates sound waves on a specific target, creating localized audio effects. Now, the possible applications are the voice of God technology can span various fields, like raising both potential benefits and specific concerns. Now, the military and the defense, they're using these non-lethal, because that's what they're considered, non-lethal methods for crowd control, psychological operations, covert communications, and law enforcement. They use it for employing sound-based tools for standoff situations and negotiations. Yes. Now, another way that it's being used is for advertising and marketing. Okay. Remember the movie with, what the hell is that wrestler's name? It's called They Live or something like that. Rowdy Piper. Okay. Delivering targeted audio messages in public or crowded spaces without ambient disruption. Okay. Concerns and controversies like the deployment of such technology raises several ethical, legal, and social concerns. So then there's the privacy part of it. It's the potential for intrusive and non-consensual audio messages raises significant privacy issues. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. So now there is a regulatory oversight and the need for regulations to prevent misuse and ensure responsible deployment. The human rights part of it, because there's concerns that are related to the violation of free will and the auditory manipulation. There's documented instances and whistleblower accounts. There's various documented cases where there has been attention brought to the existence and use of this technology. Okay. Now, here's something that you might not have known about. It's called the Havana syndrome, where there's reports of American diplomats experiencing mysterious auditory symptoms in Cuba, possibly that are linked to directed energy attacks. There's also military experiments because there's allegations of experimental use of microwave auditory technologies in conflict zones. And the whistleblower testimonies are of individuals that are claiming to have insider knowledge of secret projects that are involving sonic weapons. Now, there is a future outlook because as of research and development in directed audio technologies in progress, it is crucial to address the following aspects that I'm going to bring to your attention right now. The ethical guidelines, like establishing ethical frameworks to govern the use of these technologies, the public awareness, enhancing public understanding and discourse on the implications and the governance of these technologies, the international regulations, the developing international treaties and the regulations to prevent misuse and ensure responsible usage. And lastly, the voice of God, why would they would even name it that? But they have. This technology remains an area of fascination and controversy, with ongoing debates about its potential and ethical considerations. Now, this alone would make someone think that they're nuts, okay? I mean, not for nothing. Imagine, okay, you could swear that you hear someone speaking. And what if these fuckers say, hey, it's God, can you hear me? You would literally be like, what the? Okay? And for those of us that are highly religious, like me, for example, I would literally be on my knees going, oh dear God, you know what I mean? So for them to literally fuck around and find out, it's not the way to go, man, okay? And for them to even title it as the voice of God, dude, really? You know, no, not. I mean, I realize this has been around for quite some time, okay? But when we're literally living in such perilous times, and people are turning to God, to Jesus, to the religions, like they are right now, and what if they are still, or they amp up this weapon, like I'm sure they will, there's going to be mass mayhem and chaos. Because people are seriously going to go, he's really talking to me. You know? Or people are actually going to think that they're nuts, and they're going to go to some extreme. All right. I am out of here, guys. I will see you, excuse me, in the next one. You stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping, and as always, fearless. Ciao.
Quote, voice of God weapon has already been created. The LRAD system, which is used to cast strong signals and crowd dispersion, can also be used to send messages long distances. I'll play a video of the CEO, Woody Norris, describing the voice of God weapon and what it can do when it first came out.
So again, this idea of being able to put sound anywhere you want to is really starting to catch on. It also works for transmitting and communicating data. It also works 5 times better underwater. We've got the military had just deployed some of these into Iraq, where you can put fake troop movements a quarter of a mile away on a hillside. Or you can whisper in the ear of a supposed terrorist some biblical verse. I'm serious. And they have these infrared devices that can look at their countenance and see a fraction of a degree Kelvin in temperature shift from 100 yards away when they play this thing. And so another way of hopefully determining who's friendly and who isn't. We make a version of this which puts out 155 decibels. Pain is 120. So it allows you to go nearly a mile away and communicate with people, and there can be a public beach just off to the side and they don't even know it's turned on. We sell those to the military presently for about $70,000, and they're buying them as fast as we can make them.